Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Well, there we go. Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone.
How's it going, Niko?
I'm just you pulled that basketball out. I'm like, all right.
I know. I
Bring back this. I got the hockey jersey. Like, what are we doing here?
We're going to Climate Pledge. The next episode we need to just do it from Climate Pledge because we're ready for basketball season.
Oh, we're totally yeah.
We're ready for hockey season, and moreover, we're ready for more Seahawks wins.
Yeah, best time of Seattle sports, in my opinion. You got all these different sports going, whether it's soccer, hockey, hopefully basketball soon.
Basketball soon.
Baseball.
I'm always ready for the
ending.
return of the Sonics, is what it actually is.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But nothing taking more precedence right now than the undefeated Seahawks.
How about that?
2-game lead, man.
3-0.
Right.
3-0 soon to be. We'll talk about it later, actually.
Ooh.
We'll talk about it later.
We have a teaser there.
We have a teaser. The only team the Seahawks are that are above 500 in the division.
Yeah. Everybody else is 1-2.
1-2, 1-3. I mean, there's nothing to complain about. I've talked to a lot of Seahawks fans who are just like, look who we played.
Yeah.
The Patriots, we kind of overtime. The Dolphins, hobbled as we talked about last week. Great episode last week. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. And then the first game of the year didn't start so great, but also 3-0. What can you say about that, Niko?
Well, I think it says a lot about this team. Okay.
Yeah.
To your point a minute ago, I think so many people, and we've seen him. First of all, we love everybody who comments on the YouTube portion of this.
Absolutely.
But there was even some comments on there, but they're also echoing what I see from fans on social media. Okay. You beat a Dolphins team that was down to its third string quarterback by the end of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You beat a Patriots team that's the Patriots right now. And you beat a Broncos team that's playing better. They beat the Bucs pretty handily, but they were still figuring things out in week one. At least you can make the case for that. But here's my thing on all that. I think that's garbage. I think it's the NFL, man. Like, you get one win, you should be excited. This Mike McDonald team has found ways to win 3 different games, and they've done it in different fashion, right? Like, dominant over the Dolphins. It doesn't matter that, I mean, listen, DK gets that 71-yard catch. What does Skylar Thompson have to do with that? Like, it's not your quarterback at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a healthy Dolphins defense.
There's going to be close games in the NFL.
Right.
In fact, Mike McDonald gave a stat to some of the guys last week, something like, I think DK told me it was like 12 or 13 of the games in week 2 were separated by 6 points or less.
Yeah.
It's just what the league is.
Oh, yeah.
And so the fact that you found a way to win it, this is similar to what I said last week. That speaks volumes to me, but here comes the real test, right?
Yeah, here comes the real test. And I mean, it's hard to win games in the NFL. I mean, and honestly, I'm going to make a quick baseball analogy. Just recently, Seattle, the Mariners are eliminated from playoff contention. I'm sorry, Niko, I had to bring it up. But, you don't want to get to like the last couple of games of the year when you're fighting for your life to make the playoffs. If you just win I wouldn't say they're easy games, but if you just start fast, you don't have to worry about it. The Hawks are 3-0 in the end of September, and they're the only team over 500 in their own division.
Yeah.
It's a division that has a better Rams team, a better Cardinals team, and a Niners team that I picked, a lot of people picked to make the Super Bowl this year. And the NFL is so hard to win games. The Giants lost the game by not having a kicker. I mean, it's just bizarre to the league. It's a weird year for the league. Is what I'm trying to say. Passing is down. The defense is back, baby, which I love to see. The Hawks will love to see that too. If you can win games when you're not playing your absolute best, imagine when you are playing your best.
Yeah. That's the idea here, is that they did not play their best, and they haven't yet.
And this weekend, this Monday night, primetime is a great way for the Seahawks to show the nation going into Detroit, a good Lions team, I think. Good last year, good year before. Even better this year, I think. That they're actually for real.
Yeah, and here's my thing on it, too, to that point. It's one of those things where you talk to these guys, and that's what we love about this show. We have this access. We can talk to these players on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Kind of get the feeling of how they're looking at it and things like that. And, they've played the Lions every year since 2021. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They've won every time. Now, 2021, the Lions were in rough shape.
Yeah.
22 and 23, they were a pretty good football team.
They've been solid for a while. These aren't your grandpa's Lions we're talking about. Well, actually, these aren't your father's Lions. The grandpa's Lions are pretty decent. But yeah, this is a strong team with a strong coach, Dan Campbell, 0-3 against the Seahawks.
Right. And he's a great coach. Everybody loves Dan Campbell.
Love Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and I think this one, when you look at it, it comes down to a few different things. This Hawks ability to find a way to win.
Yeah.
Does that continue now? I think it does. I could be wrong, but I think it continues. On top of that, that Lions offense has a lot of offense. It has a lot of weapons.
There's
it reminds me of the Seahawks. Maybe some would say even more potent. I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I remember we did a score predictions last week for the Dolphins game. I said it was going to be a high scoring game, like 42-35. We didn't see that, luckily. Not because of the Seahawks, really, but it's because of the Dolphins and the situation.
Yeah.
I think we may see something very close to that. However, I do think that it may be a little bit more one-sided than that score that I gave last week.
Okay.
The Hawks are on the road. They're wearing their all-white uniforms. The Detroit Lions are wearing their new black uniforms. I think it's going to be a rocket scene in Detroit, but I just feel, and I have no evidence to back this up,
Okay.
the world's going to be put on notice for the Seahawks.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just saying, they're getting healthier. They're the healthiest team in the division, as I mentioned.
I agree.
And I think that's going to show up, definitely.
And it's Monday Night Football.
And it's Monday Night Football on KOMO, which you should watch.
Absolutely.
Before and afterwards, also.
Geno Smith, by the way, was asked this week, does it mean anything different because it's Monday Night Football?
Oh, yeah.
Let's play a listen on that.
Yeah.
Games. I love playing regardless, but anytime you can play on Monday night, and for us, this team to be able to, to have that spotlight game to kind of show, I know in the, Pacific Northwest, we don't get the most spotlight, but, to be able to kind of show the world what we're about, we really look forward to that.
Yeah, Geno Smith. First of all, we love Geno. Still writing people back. Still not writing people back.
He never writes people back, and he's been pretty solid lately.
Yeah, but I really
he's been very solid. He's the leader of the team.
We talked about this. Yeah. First of all, I'm so glad you brought that up because again, we talked about that access we get at the facility and everything. Everybody was talking about Geno's leadership today.
He's the guy.
Elite
Geno?
Elite. Yeah,
I think so. Definitely.
We talk about how he's helped DK Metcalf along, and Tyler Lockett, who's like the most savvy veteran out there, 10 seasons, a decade of excellence, and he's like, Geno, like he just has this way about him, like he commands the room. Even a guy like DK was this larger than life personality. You would think like if you're not with that team, you might be like, oh, he's a difficult guy to manage or something. But no, he's really not because you have a leader like Geno.
Yeah, I really feel, and that leadership, it shows on the field too.
Yeah.
And is Geno perfect? No quarterback is perfect right now in the league.
Yeah.
Honestly, quarterback play is so odd. If you look at the numbers, though, you see guys like Trevor Lawrence struggle. We see guys with Aaron Rodgers having not the most amazing game. Even guys like Lamar Jackson have not the most amazing game. Geno has been relatively steady. Which is consistent, and that's good. That's what you need for a team, from a team leader, especially from a team with a brand new head coach.
Yeah,
that may be more defensive oriented. That defense is stepping up too. I mean, say what you want about the first 3 games, not giving up a touchdown against the Dolphins. I don't care who the quarterback is.
Yeah,
it's a BFD, and I think, and we saw that against Bo Nix and the Broncos, who, like you said, got a big win against Tampa, a team that you shouldn't sleep on either. I'm fired up.
I am too.
I'm fired up.
What about the Lions might concern you, Nash?
The passing game.
Yeah,
it's the passing game. But also, I will say that the passing game is the first thing that comes to mind. But I think the Seahawks defensive line is going to be tested a bit because we look at Jamar Gibbs, we look at David Montgomery. There's a 1-2 punch of just really, really good running backs. Jamar Gibbs coming into his second year into the league, and Jared Goff. You shouldn't sleep on Jared Goff. I mean, a lot of people did, and he's a fantasy machine.
Yeah, I think
especially when you consider the weapons he has with Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporta, who may have been one of the best tight ends in the league in his rookie year, and you bring in Jameson Williams, who's now found some jets. Now he's on my fantasy team. He had a career day on my bench a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to talk about that, but but I think that Lions team, as good as the offense is, I think Mike McDonald has been scheming. It's as good as that Lions offense is, the Seahawks secondary, I think, is equally as good.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup. For me, the most concerning thing when it comes to this matchup with the Lions is, first, I can just say Aiden Hutchinson. And the Lions D front. But here's why, because the Seahawks, that O-line's been shaky a little bit.
Geno's been running for his life a little bit. Yeah.
Geno got safetied a couple weeks back, right? Yeah. And he got he almost did again, but then ended up throwing an interception instead because of the pressure. I mean, Geno's trying to make something happen. You can say whether or not he shouldn't have thrown the ball. I mean, like, in hindsight, like, don't throw the ball, but he sees a wide open Charbonnet. He's going to try and avoid a safety.
Yeah.
Like, I think in the heat of the moment, of course you do that. But like in hindsight, you look at the result, you're like, don't do that. Take the 2-point. No. But yeah, it's
hard to say.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson has been a machine his whole career. He's especially lighting it up this year. He's just a menace. And you have a Seahawks offensive line that's really battling. We saw the penalties. We saw the times that Geno's been under pressure. I mean, guys like Charles Cross have been great.
Yeah.
But the rest of the line, for the most part anyway, is guys filling in, guys that are just haven't been as good. And that's going to be, to me, that's my key in this one. Can the offensive line step up? And if they don't, how much is Aiden Hutchinson going to have Geno running for his life the whole game?
Well, and we know Geno's a fast guy. I think we clocked him not this past week, but the week before.
21 miles.
Like 21 miles
Yeah.
an hour. That's pretty
That
solid.
was the Broncos touchdown run.
The Broncos touchdown. I was like, oh, this guy's moving. I think my key to the game is offensive line related, but I think it depends on whether or not the health of K9.
Yeah.
Now we saw last week.
We saw him at practice this week. So
he was at practice this week, and we saw last week. He was my fantasy pickup. If you picked him up, you're welcome. By the way, 2 touchdowns.
You did. Najee did call that. Najee's giving us like amazing fantasy advice, and Niko's giving you the worst betting advice on the planet.
Well, if we'll
talk about that later. But
if you look at my betting advice from last week, we both we're not gonna get. We're gonna get to that, but later. I truly think Zach Charbonnet showed he was an all-purpose player. 2 weeks ago, 2 touchdowns on the ground, nearly 100 yards, about 96 yards. Last week, say what you want about the Dolphins. The injury on the offensive side is well documented. The defense still strong.
Yeah.
If the Seahawks can run the ball well early, they take some pressure off that offensive line to protect Geno, a little play action. I think it can really open up the passing game. Keep the defensive line, Aiden Hutchinson and the like, off balance.
Yeah.
Even if K9 doesn't play, and I think he might. I mean, he was at practice, like you said. I still think the Zach Charbonnet pickup, which I was, when the Seahawks initially drafted him, I think he was drafted second out of UCLA or second round,
yeah,
out of UCLA, and I was like, that's interesting because second round running back, knowing that you have a guy like K9 who's a game breaker, it's like why? But we saw why,
right?
The past couple of weeks, so I don't know. Maybe the Hawks have a really, really, really great 1-2 punch going down the line. Yeah,
I think that was more of like, they had a couple times run into dire straits in 21 and 22.
You don't want a Rashard Penny situation,
right? Sure, so I like, but we saw, to your point, how much of a game changer he can be, and I want to point out on last week's episode of Dolphins preview, we had a couple cool comments here about Charbonnet. I'm going by usernames here because I don't know what these people's real names are.
Okay.
So Snowbear626. First of all, we appreciate all your comments.
Snowbear.
Snowbear. I'm assuming your birthday is June 26th. Don't tell me for identity purposes.
Snowbear.
Charbonnet might have had a flat day running the ball, but he did have a touchdown. He also had 5 receptions for 31 yards, almost 70 yards of total output. Not bad. That's the thing.
Nothing you
and
can see that.
Right. Mike McDonald said this after the game Sunday. He said Charbonnet is at his best after he's ground down that defense. Mm-hmm. And I think that if K9's back, Charbonnet is still effective because you have K9 grinding those guys down.
Exactly.
And then you have Charbonnet can maybe pop off for a couple first down runs, maybe longer than that.
Yeah. I think it's going to have to start with the run.
Yeah.
I really do. It keeps some of these defensive linemen and Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to be coming off the edge regardless.
Right.
Honest, so they can't just run completely downhill.
Yeah, right. You have to kind of keep them honest.
Be prepared for K9 and Charbonnet, and Charbonnet is a gigantic human being also.
I also want to point out in the running back thing, we have Mike, I apologize to mess up your name here, Mike Cupuris. Comment on this episode if you're watching. We just pushed. I apologize. We don't get pronouncers and usernames. Said ready for some Macintosh now. We need some explosive potential to offset Sharp's hammer drill, referring to Kenny McIntosh, the 2023 7th round pick. And he had that nice run. It was a nice first down run in the game against Miami. But to that, I think the reason I wanted to bring that up is I think that's a good point that Charbonnet is very talented, very good, but I think he's that much more dangerous and dynamic when you have somebody to compliment him, or he's complimenting somebody, whether it's McIntosh complimenting him or Charbonnet complimenting Kenneth Walker III.
I completely agree. I love a 2-back system. This is why Detroit. That's why one thing I said about Detroit, how dangerous they are, because the offense. Yes, the receivers and Jared Goff who can throw for 1 billion yards. Yes, but also Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery is a 1-2 punch, and if you've had them in fantasy or played against them in fantasy, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, Najee, you've been talking about fantasy football a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I want to call it up. It's the best fantasy football advice that you will get between Najee and I. What do you like for? Well, we've been kind of sticking to waiver wire pickups, or maybe somebody who's good to play.
It's hard.
What do you like? Just give us one piece of advice, I guess is what we'll call this, whether it's a waiver wire pickup or whether it's somebody like last week. I was like, okay, I think Joe Burrow's due for the breakout, and he was, and he had a good day.
And he was. They lost the game.
They lost, but fantasy wise, he had great numbers.
Listen, if you're talking about as number as catches, JSN from the Seahawks.
Yeah, sure. If you're PPR, right?
If you're a PPR, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, he 12 catches a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's kind of filling into the whole, and I think I don't want to say he is going to be the heir apparent to Tyler Lockett,
I think he will be.
but I think he will.
I don't know how
the
much
heir
time
apparent.
Locke's got,
Tyler
but
Lockett's got plenty of time, I believe, and I think that I think the Hawks found another Tyler Lockett who's just a yak machine.
yeah.
Who's a catch machine. If DK is a big guy over the top, which we saw, which I called correctly,
Right.
Very early in the Patriots game. I think JSN, if you can get him, if you don't have him right now, you're probably not going to be able to get him. Sorry, but if you can get him, I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think Geno Smith likes him a lot. He trusts him, which is important. I think Geno trusts a lot of his.
He was thrown to AJ Barner, the rookie tight end, the other day.
Exactly,
I like that.
Exactly, and I think also a little parentheses, if you can pick up Noah Fant this week,
Yeah,
it would be a good.
Which you
pickup.
did for me, by the way. In our station league, I dropped Noah Fant. Now
Here's the thing about.
Sorry, no, it wasn't personal, man.
Here's the thing about this our station league. If I can go for a
It's
little
dumb.
bit,
Did I just say that out loud?
Let's just say that I'm 2-1.
So am I.
Congratulations. It's a 14-team league.
Who's your loss to?
Oh gosh, it was last week. It wasn't to Paul. Thankfully.
Oh, I thought it was to me.
It may have been to you.
I was trying to be a jerk for a minute there.
No, honestly, it's a 14-team league,
Yeah.
and there's no defenses and no kickers.
Which I think is silly.
So can you just imagine what our lineups?
And but the other problem is there's like 6 bench players. So you're like bidding all your like free agency money on like some guy who had 2 catches because you might get you 2
and
points.
there's 4 flex positions.
It's a little much.
So
Where's Commissioner Matt Landers? Got to tell him next year. Got to switch that up.
Matt Landers. I'm playing against KOMO's own Jackie Kent this week.
Oh,
so,
Jackie Kent, former Arizona Wildcat.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know who my one loss to is. Let me find. I know it wasn't good. It was
you look at that. I'm going to give my fantasy advice here. Part waiver wire, part you should play this guy this week. Bucky Irving, rookie running back on the Buccaneers. Okay. This is my first part here. He's probably picked up by now in a lot of leagues. If he's not, grab him right now.
By the shoulders.
What's that?
By the shoulders.
Yeah, man.
By the shoulders.
Because Rashad White
that was a really emphatic.
Because
pick him up right
look
now.
at the numbers.
Okay.
Rashad White from Tampa Bay is like the starter, so to speak. He's got, I'm not exaggerating this, all season long, 31 carries for 65 yards. Last game alone, Bucky had 9 carries for 70 yards. He's proving to be much more dynamic, just a better runner. And even in a game when the script says you're not going to run because you're losing 26-7 to the Broncos. Not at all.
Not at all.
Bucky's still running out there for 70 yards. I think he's going to be the starter soon. He's going to be a bell cow back soon.
Who did the Buccaneers play this week?
I should know this. Eagles.
Eagles.
But, yeah.
See, and that's tough because
it's tough. But I think even if you don't start him this week, like grab him by the shoulders.
Yeah, by the shoulders.
Because he's going to be a guy that could potentially win your league. If you're like a team that, gosh, my running backs aren't good. Well, he's going to be an RB for the Bucs, RB1 as far as fantasy concerns, probably like an RB2 pretty soon.
You're actually giving me a good idea because if you are in a league that's crazy like ours, when you have 4 flex positions, no defense, no kickers in a 14-team league, you may be able to reach. I think he may be available at this point,
and probably not a 14-team league like ours. I don't know. But I don't think. Trust me, I already looked. Okay, but like in ours anyway.
This is news you can use.
Yeah, but in like a 12-team league, absolutely. And my next idea is a guy that's not going to be as productive just yet, but. We're talking about Braylon Allen, the rookie on the Jets. Behind arguably the best back in the league right now in Breece Hall, but he's still getting touches.
I searched for him in our league after the first preseason game.
Yeah.
And he ran back that long touchdown, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, but stash him if you have the ability.
Yeah, gotta pick him up.
Okay. Next up on our agenda are the best bets this weekend. We will not mention that Niko picked the Rams by 1.5 over the Cardinals, and they lost 41-10. We will not say that Niko picked the Buccaneers 5.5 over the Broncos, and they lost 26-7.
We will not also talk about how Najee decided to take the Chargers over the Steelers last week. I think it was a 1-point spread, and they ended up losing by 10.
Yeah, I mean, you're respectable. I'm just atrocious. So take this with a grain of salt when I tell you that I'm going to tell you that I like the Houston Texans 3.5 over the Jaguars.
Okay, here's the thing. And it's not that I disagree. I think the Jaguars can't be this bad this long.
I agree. I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence. You got some playmakers
There's
out there.
There's no way they're 0-3. I mean, they're playing. It's a division game. I'm not sure exactly where that game is right now, but I hear Niko's advice, and I don't agree specifically. What he probably will agree with, however, and all of our fantastic listeners will agree with also, I think the spread for the Seahawks Lions game, this is going to sweat. It's going to sweat you. It's going to sweat you
It's gonna
out.
sweat me. Okay.
Through Sunday and Monday, 7 points, I believe it is.
Which is crazy.
Which is insane, by the way.
That's a big spread.
That's a big spread, and
that's like a spread when you have like the Kansas City Chiefs when they're rolling, taking on like the Panthers or something.
This is your grandma's Thanksgiving Day spread when you got ham, turkey, and a turducken on the Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. It's a huge spread. Like the Swami says, nice spread, huh? No, that's crazy though, because there's no way that the Seahawks are going to lose by 7 or by 8. I mean, and there's no way that they may lose at all.
Okay.
In fact, I'm betting the Seahawks are going to win by 2 tutties.
Wow. Whoa.
Here's the thing.
That's our next segment, though. See, we're going to do the Seahawks score prediction.
I know.
2 touchdown. Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Explain to me this. I mean, listen, I think they're going to win, but that's a bold statement.
I'm hoping K9 comes back.
Okay. I think he will.
I think he will. He practiced today. And I think that, when you combine him with Zach Charbonnet, who got a lot of confidence last week with those 2 touchdowns, the week before with all those all-purpose yards that we talked about, keeping that defensive line off balance, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, high scoring in that it may be similar to the score that I talked about last week for the Dolphins game, but we may actually see the actual high-scoring game. I don't want to talk about scores yet, but I have confidence in the Hawks. I do, because and I think this is the game where the Hawks they need to do this.
Najee's bold prediction. I like it.
They need to do this because, I mean, they're 3-0.
Yeah. They
need to keep putting games in front of the Niners, who are 1-3, who's 1-2 actually, who are struggling to field. They have they got a good solid backup running back. Who knows how long Christian McCaffrey's going to be out?
Yeah.
I mean, I picked him number 1. I need him to come back immediately. He's not. And I just think this is a good opportunity to show the Hawks. People are like, yeah, they play the Dolphins, they play the Broncos and the Patriots. Yeah, but this is a good opportunity for them to be like, we're going to put our foot in it and show the league that we're for real. We're going to go undefeated.
Well, we heard Geno say that a minute ago.
Geno hasn't written back.
We love Geno.
Exactly. This is a good opportunity. The lights are bright. Won't be too bright for Geno. He still hasn't written back.
I agree with you. The Seahawks are going to win. I want to throw a stat at you. That actually lends more credence to what you're thinking. 2022 Seahawks win 48-45.
I remember that game.
Yeah. Last year, Tyler Lockett catches in overtime, which was great because he had like Jen Mueller, he had John Schneider, Rich, who not many people know, but he does a lot of the PR for the Seahawks. He's a great man. They're all jumping in the background, 41-35. So these teams score a lot of points.
They score a lot of points. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that.
So that's why we said 7 points is kind of odd.
7 points is odd. I think the Seahawks win it. And I'm going to go with a Jason Myers game winner, 38-35. I'm going to call my shot on how they win it. 38-35, Jason Myers from 56 yards.
56 yards?
Yeah. We hit a 56-yarder last week.
Oh, my goodness. I said 2 touchdowns.
We're going to play this clip again next week when the final score is like 17-14 or something.
It may end up looking like that Eagles.
Or Myers misses the game winner or something.
Gosh. Well, yeah, you can just write Niko at Niko Tamurian at.
Thank you.
It may end up being like, but honestly, it could either be a high-scoring game, which I think it is. If I'm going to give my score production, I honestly think that the Hawks can win this game 42-28.
Yeah, okay.
Or it could be like that Eagles Saints game that we saw last week that was 3-0 to like the fourth quarter.
Never know.
You never know. The league it's a funny league, But no, like I said before, I mean, you say what you want about the Seahawks and how they haven't played anyone. They don't make the schedule.
Yeah, right. I mean, well, yeah.
You have to play who you play.
Yeah.
If you want to win the division, you have to start fast. I said that about the Mariners. They didn't do that. Okay. they were 10 games up at one point. I'm sorry.
Something's got to happen there.
Something's got to happen there. But no, I think if you can be 4-0 and no one else in the division is better than 500,
you're in great shape. And I think that to your point in this game, we've seen, as I mentioned earlier, the Seahawks know how to win. They have put it together in a lot of different situations. And I just think that this is not a knock against Detroit, but I think that, God, it's hard for me to bet against this Seahawks team right now.
And I think
I just like everything. Okay, clean up the mistakes and penalties from last week.
Right.
Clean up the intercept, like stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, they find a way.
The thing that maybe doesn't play in the Seahawks' favor this week is because they're on the road. Monday Night Football.
Sure.
And the Ford Field is an insane place to be. It's become an insane place to be, especially in a primetime game, especially in that dome. The Seahawks know how to deal with noise. That being said, false starts, it's possible. You have to clean that up.
Yeah.
It's hard to clean it up when you're on the road, especially against a good team that, but I take the Seahawks defense over the Lions any day.
We're both picking Seahawks again. I like it. Najee, you want to end with some fun?
Yeah, let's have fun.
I caught up with Kayvon Wallace.
This whole thing was fun, actually.
Well, this is always fun.
Kayvon
Wallace is like one of my favorite people on that team because he's hilarious.
Right.
And I discovered this offseason that he watches a lot of Animal Planet. It's like his favorite thing to do.
Good guy.
So we did the KOMO 4 questions. Let's hear what Kayvon Wallace has to say. 4 questions. I'm here with Kayvon Wallace. First of all, Kayvon, it was a pleasure to meet you back in training camp. And back then, I did ask you what you might do on your day off, and you mentioned watching Animal Planet. So I got to ask you, if you're watching that channel, what show in particular are you watching?
I actually so they have like different series on there.
Okay.
I was just watching a series of Alliance of 6 Brothers.
Oh, okay.
And how they was taking over the whole area of South Africa, and it was super dope. Just the way they moved together, they hunted together, and then they end up splitting up, and then owning 2 different territories. They end up coming back together. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If a DB was an animal on Animal Planet, what would you be?
That's a good question. Cause we play the game backwards, man. Got to open up and run real fast. I say, I don't know. I give us hyena.
I like that.
I
hyena.
feel like we some dogs back there. Like, you got to really do it together. All 11 hats to the ball, and definitely being a safety or a corner. Like, we got to be in the mix. When a ball carrier is running. So hyenas, they run in deep packs, heavy groups, and they swarm, and they attack, and they dogs at the end of the day. So I'll definitely say hyenas.
I like that because me on the outside, I would have been like eagles or so flying around.
I like the flying around and all that, but I want to look at us as them dogs.
Okay.
That's going to swarm and that's going to attack for sure.
I like it. Okay, you've been in Seattle a few months now. What is your favorite part, other than being a part of the Seahawks? What is your favorite part about the Pacific Northwest?
The views, man.
Okay.
The views it give you, just being by the water, the lake, especially at practice, just the view that you just get, man. It's definitely beautiful. Definitely beautiful.
And let's talk a little football here. Obviously, winning the first few, that's been awesome. It's incredibly difficult to do in the NFL. A long way to go, of course.
Yeah.
But what is it about this team that makes you guys have that ability to win in different ways and have something special about you so far?
I'm very curious to see us face adversity and how we respond. But what we have done so far has been tremendous. We got a long way to go. But I feel like the formula is evident, man. We swarm, we tackle well, we protect the deep part of the field. We win our one-on-ones. And then our offense been clicking, We complement each other very well. Even when they put us in bad situations, we do our best to get us out of those situations. Then boom, they go score. You know what I'm saying? So special teams been playing at a high level. It's certain things that we got to get better at. But all 3 phases playing at a very high level. That's why I believe that we're 3-0.
Awesome. Well, Kayvon Wallace, that's your first time on the KOMO 4 questions. How do you feel?
I appreciate it. I feel good, man. I feel good. Thank you for the question.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Way to get his thumbs up there at the end. Kayvon Wallace, we appreciate you, man.
We appreciate you.
The hyena answer was interesting.
Can someone in the comments Google something really quick and tell me if hyenas are fast?
They gotta be pretty fast.
They gotta be at least a little fast, right?
Yeah, probably 20 some odd miles an
That
hour.
was my thing because hyena's great. I love it, but I'm like, pack of dogs get it right. But
I was thinking birds.
Oh, you were thinking of birds.
Like I was thinking flying around like a hawk or an eagle.
The first,
and he told me in the summer when we talked about this, he's like, "Oh my, what's your favorite part about being here?" He's like, "Man, the eagles that fly over the practice facility."
Oh.
I'm like, "Wait, what? That's what your favorite thing is?" So then I'm like, "Okay, we got to circle back on this."
I see. I like what he means. I moved to Seattle about 4 years ago, and he was talking about the views. And every time I'm going across I-5 from UW, I'm just like, wow, this is kind of insane.
Oh yeah,
Seattle, that's a beautiful view.
Just and same thing with I-90 across Mercer Island and all that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you're 5 south and the mountains getting bigger, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, even coming into Seattle from the south, like from the airport or something, it's just like, wow, this is gorgeous. Are hyenas fast? I think so. Pack of dogs, I love that.
I hope Kayvon gets a pick in this game just because of that.
I think so. I think
It'd be
so.
great.
It'd be great.
Or like
I
a
think
big
he
hit or
will.
something.
He should.
Kayvon, we appreciate
We
your time.
appreciate
Najee,
that.
I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time.
This is so fun every week. Listen, this is such a cool show to bring to you because we're inside the locker room. We're talking to these guys. We're at the facility. I'm there multiple times a week. Najee's in my ear telling me what to say or not say, telling me not to be stupid.
I'm just freestyling in Niko's ear the whole time.
And I somehow don't stutter. Yeah, but we have really a cool way to bring this show. We love being able to do it each and every week on the KOMO News YouTube page. That's the KOMO Sports End Zone. He's Najee Moye. I'm Niko Tamurian. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.